My name's Jennifer Jones, and I'm really nervous. I usually get up in front of people and I have no problem. I sing, but now apparently I dance too. So, and keep my hands in my pockets. So, I was born here in Panama City and grew up in Chipley and Weewa. And I am the executive director of Bay Arts Alliance, which is the local arts agency that runs the Marina Civic Center. And part of what Bay Arts Alliance does as a local arts agency is to advocate for the arts in education. And so that is what my talk is really about. When I was in middle school, I was terrible at math. I think I just had a terrible math teacher. So it didn't click for me. And my aunt that I really loved right up until this point decided to tell my parents that they should pull me out of public school and send me to a trade school because I was never going to be successful in traditional education, you know, and college was probably not going to happen, which that's fine. You know, I was mad at her, but I really didn't want to go to college either, so it was okay. But it turns out I got a scholarship in voice and was a music major and flip-flopped back and forth between music and English till I graduated from Florida State in Tallahassee. And so I'm glad I didn't go to trade school because I think I'm a little bit happier than if I'd gone and learned how to upholster couches or something. So what I want to tell you is that there is a movement, and I don't know who brought those ATC folders, but it's what I'm speaking against. There's a movement in public education and higher education that has an acronym called STEM. And if you're not familiar with it, I don't know why you are, it's in the last sheet of this folder. But it represents science, technology, engineering, and math. And it is aimed at educating people so that they are employable, so that technology companies can have you know, good new hires, you know, people that are well versed in what they're about and make their businesses more productive. But I'm afraid, in my opinion, that taking literature and the arts, music, dance, visual art, and drama out of education is actually having a negative impact on those employers and policymakers that are steering education in that direction. Can y'all hear it? Because it's really loud. You can't? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Well, good. Oh, good. I'll come back there later. I have some support for that, and I don't know everybody's political affiliation, but I am in Bay County, so I'm going to go out on a limb and reference Reason Magazine, which is a libertarian publication. Okay, know what it is? A scientist knows, who is also a dancer, knows what that is. So Reason Magazine, in their April issue, just came out with this series of commentaries from educators, economists, advocates, attorneys, talking about failing college. And it's not about us failing college as students, it's about colleges are failing and how they're not educating people to have a well-rounded experience in higher education. Liberal arts are being discouraged, and even to the point which our own governor, which I'm sorry if you love, I mean, he's fine, I love his boots, he likes shoes, but he's actually suggested, and maybe even more than that, that tuition fees for science, technology, engineering, and math curriculum be lowered to make it more accessible and make it more attractive for people that are choosing their majors, and because we're looking for people that are employable in those fields, and leaving the tuition for liberal arts high, where it was, as a deterrent. And so if you really want to pursue what you love, or you know, or the liberal arts, then you better want it because it's going to cost you more. The other interesting thing about the article said that you know, lenders are making student loans to finance school, and they know that probably, what was it, 1 in 10, I'm not even looking at my notes, this is great, 1 in 10 are not even going to get a 2-year degree. They're going to get a loan, and they're going to be accountable for the loan they took out, which may be, what is it, $36,000, $40,000 a year to go to a public university, $60,000 to go to a more prestigious or private university. So they're going to take the loan, they're going to go to school, and then they're going to get a 2-year degree maybe, and 1 in 10. So that's a lot of people that have, you know, a debt that's basically for a consumer item rather than an investment that they're going to have to pay back, and they're not going to be qualified to earn the kind of income to pay that back, which looks a lot like the housing lending loans, if you ask me. So I'm calling it sinister. So that's what's going on in higher education. Well, the other thing is that kids are not, performing in higher education. They're not sticking it out and that sort of thing. And about $3 billion is spent every year on remedial education. When kids come out of high school and go into college, like 1.7 million of them have to go through remedial courses before they can even, study, not perform, study at a college level. So $3 billion to remediate. And I don't think that means that some people aren't meant for college. I think it means that a lot of people are not getting prepared for college. And so that's when we go back to public education and STEM curriculum, not helping students learn how to, I know they learn how to problem solve. They solve the problem in the math book, but there's a formula and there's a right or wrong answer, but it doesn't necessarily foster creative thinking and what they call divergent thinking. And divergent thinking is when you look at a question or problem and then you think of all the possible answers that it could be, not just the answer that you think it's supposed to be. So there was a study of like 1,600 individuals that were tested about their divergent thinking skills, which is a different kind of intelligence than analytical, skills, which SAT, ACT, they test on those types of skills. And it's called academic. So everybody that does good is academic. Everybody that does poorly, they call non-academic, as if there is not an intelligence there. So they're only testing for one kind. So they test these individuals on divergent thinking, and 98% of them scored at 100, which was the genius score, and which was really amazing for all these 1,600 people. Well, they tested them 5 years later, and about 65% of them scored at genius level. Same people, same test, or same type of test, and so they're losing ground on their divergent thinking skills. They tested them at 5-year increments, and when they got to the 5th test, 2% of the people scored at genius level. Well, the first group were kindergartners, and the last group was 25-year-olds. They had, gone through and been tested over the course of their life, and a lot of things happen, family life, personal experiences, but the one thing they all have in common is a public education system. So I think what's happening, in my opinion, and the person that I stole this from, is that it's called collaboration. And that they have this public education system in place, they have it in common, and it is discouraging creative thinking. And so we learn less to problem solve and more to find the right answer, which is not going to help us innovate. So back to my topic. I haven't even mentioned Les Mis yet. Has anybody seen it? Everybody seen it? One? I know, Russell Crowe it was good. So everybody was good except Russell Crowe. He can't sing, but he can sell a movie. So we had Les Mis released on December 25th in the United States, and it was a big success, when they did what's the movie awards? Oscars, yeah. Yeah, they came out there, the whole chorus came out and they did that big thing. And I was like, oh no, he's coming. Russell Crowe was coming. I was like, please don't do it, hire somebody else. And dadgum if he didn't come out there and sing. But so it was this big, huge thing. So I figured this would be something that was accessible for everybody through the popular success of Les Mis, which actually was a book that was written in the, just after the mid-1800s by Victor Hugo in France. And it was a fictional or a fictionalization of actual events that happened in France. And I have to look at my notes now because I get really confused, but even looking at my notes I get confused about this. The French Revolution was a long drawn out thing, and they had something called the July Revolution. Is anybody familiar? Does anybody follow? Pardon? Say it again? Bastille, that was actually before Napoleon, when they stormed the Bastille and threw over Louis XIV, or overthrew him, threw him over. Maybe they did, I don't know. But actually in 1830, they had the July Revolution. Then in 1832, they had the June Rebellion. And then in 1848, they had the June Days Uprising. So apparently the French love to fight in the summer, and so keep us all confused about history. But Victor Hugo was actually, he was an elected official in, you know, the legislative body that was there in 1848, which was when the June Days happened. And he had already, you know, he was born in like 1802, and he'd lived through, you know, this oppression and uprising and that sort of thing, and was familiar with what was going on, became an elected official, and he was like a rock star poet. Everybody at the state loved him, you know, so he was kind of on the side of the state. And he actually led the assault on the barricade, you know, where the kids are, you know, singing and getting shot. And so he actually led an assault on the barricade and took prisoners and was actually a part of the state side, not the rebellion side. Well, in the story, you know, Jean Valjean's the hero, and he, you know, like saves a prostitute, pays her debts, she dies, he raises her kid, all this sort of stuff. Actually, Victor Hugo paid the debts of a prostitute, but he kind of kept her on the side, like at subsistence level, you know, so that then she didn't die, she lived. But it's funny, when you read, I read part of Victor Hugo's biography and know the story of Les Mis, and he kind of made himself into Jean Valjean and left all the nasty parts about himself actually being a part of the assault on the barricade. But so he kind of aggrandized his own character in there. But this movement was about you know, people's rights. The state employed everybody, and then when they decided to shut down, you know, the business, then people didn't have anything anymore, and they didn't have any way of getting income or food and that sort of thing. So it was a big civil rights movement, pretty much. But so I'm going to use Les Mis as an example because it's familiar, and how you can use it in education to teach other things, and how the arts have value and actually give relevance to other topics. So I counted all 403 pages of the score of Les Miserables and checked the time signature and the tempo, and counted it all up. And then I called more collaboration. I called a scientist friend of mine. I was like, hey, if Les Mis was a person and was running or walking at this tempo, you know, how would that convert to miles per hour? So we actually did. I know I'm not supposed to use props, but I'll just show you. You can't read it, so it's not like. So here's his little graph. And he was like, well, are you a man or a woman? Are you tall or are you short? So we had to go through all these things, and it's this big calculus problem. So it turns out that according to my count on paper, Les Mis lasts like 2.8 hours. And actually the performance does last about 2 hours and 50 minutes, something like that, with an intermission. So what we decided was that Les Mis was a male, and he was running at, hold on just a second. He was running at 97 beats per minute, which is the average BPM for the musical. Then he would get about 7.43 miles. So what you can do with music is turn it into a math problem. It is actually a calculus problem, which means I can't do it, but I can call somebody that knows how to do it and use that. You can use the musical to teach French history or world history, like, you know, what I just said about the June, July revolutions and uprisings in France. And then you can also use it to teach literature, because obviously it's this great work, you know, it's like this big. And he also wrote The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And so you can use it to teach literature. He was a poet, and he used this, he like entertained this type of poetry called dithyrambic, which is this, you know, anybody see like the works of E. Cummings? You know, where he writes like all over the place, and it's supposed to kind of give an impression of the poem, you know, just how it looks visually, as well as what is sang in the poem, and they were actually practicing that in France. So you can teach literature, literary styles, and you can also, well, back to the miles per hour, I told you, I don't know if I told you, but I do kind of like jump all over the place. The reason I tried to do the miles per hour in the running, if the musical were a man running, then it was because Nike had done a study about footfall and playlists for people that were exercising, and they learned that a footfall is a triplet, and they learned that people run at different paces depending on their skill level in running and their size and that sort of thing. So you can use the musical or the book as a jumping off place to teach health and fitness, because it's your miles per hour and your stride are related to your heart rate. They also said that music helps keep runners motivated. It's less boring than a metronome, and it also helps numb the pain. So there's another thing that has value for the arts, is it numbs the pain, it helps you maintain a certain heart rate, it can help you learn calculus. What is that? 15, really? Oh my goodness, I thought I wasn't gonna have enough to say.
I gave you a baby doll.
Oh, I had a song to sing. Oh, that's okay. Well, you want my song?
Yes,
I'm sorry. It's like 2.8 minutes, I promise. So, and it's a cappella, and it's about Marta. That's okay. Of course, my mouth is dry. So, can you still hear me? I hope I don't start too low. And you're gonna. Okay. This is in the style of Madeline Kahn from Blazing Saddles, and you're going to learn about, let's see, 8 French artists, a philosopher, and 2 nameless composers, and Marta. Oh, my mouth's really dry. I'm Marta Montmartre. I can break any heart in at least 25 languages. I command a great view, and chérie, entre nous, if you cross me, you'll soon learn what anguish is. I'm Marta Montmartre. I live in the best part where the famous art center of Paris is. My apartment is chic, both modern and antique, with fine wines from the vines on my terraces. I'm Marta Montmartre. I'm considered quite smart and attractive in my special way. It was just my sad fate to have been born too late, to have posed for Degas and Manet, for Degas and Renoir and Gauguin and Rodin and Cézanne and Baudin and Monet. I'm Marta Montmartre. I enraptured Jean Sartre and captured 2 modern composers. Poor Picasso has died, but he left me his pride and 2 portraits with upside-down noses. I'm Marta Montmartre with a heart a la carte, and despite all its flipping and flopping, I've collected my poise and a few handsome boys, and now we're all going out shopping.